Back with you in studio with me, John Ayala. And, John is retired from Delphi, or let's just say not working there anymore after many, many years, 37 years at Delphi. Graduated Saginaw Valley State University. And family guy living in Frankenmuth now, but been around Saginaw County all his life for the most part. And I would call you a community activist. Is that a fair title?
It is, not in the sense of like an Al Sharpton, but certainly.
I'm sorry, I hope not, but that's beside the point. That's.
But as a person who cares about his community, most recently I helped working with Bobby DeLeon, president of the Mexican American Council, and we were applied for and received what ultimately became a $620,000 grant.
What's that going to be used for?
It's going to be used for providing tutoring services. We want to provide music lessons. We want to provide cultural
life experiences.
Music's forever. It's just another form of reading.
Isn't that the truth?
I'm trying to teach myself to play the guitar because it's another way to keep my mind active.
When I was a kid in New York City schools, I played the clarinet. I haven't touched it in years, but I still have it. And every now and then I take it out and look at it and squeak on it and put it back.
Well, I was a cellist in middle school.
Really?
Yes, and I was in Saginaw High's last string section, and I always have to say it wasn't because of me it ended. I just happened to be there.
Just out of curiosity, as a high graduate, what do you think of the new combined high school?
Just from a practical perspective, the numbers we needed to have a more central. We couldn't afford to have two separate, hardly utilized buildings. So, as a practical matter, it made sense. The city, the demographics have changed. I wish the demographics were more like they were when I went to Saginaw High, and there was one school, because we had a more diverse population. And so I think one of the things that keeps people apart is the unknown of the other. And when we find out we share more of the same things, and it is the differences that make us interesting, not frightful.
I have a very good friend who is still a very good friend, who is a Democrat through and through. I'm not far right, but I lean to the right. And he and I would have lunch. By the time we were done, we realized we agreed on more than we disagreed on.
Absolutely.
And the key there was we could disagree and still have lunch.
Yes.
And
not heave your cookies.
Yeah. I have a lot of friends who we disagree on things, but that's what makes a horse race. I like that.
Oh, I think so,
I like to
too.
be able to sit down and talk to someone like you, who I suspect we probably have different views on certain things.
Oh, sure we do.
I'm going to bring one up soon. But I don't judge people on their politics, any of that. I judge people on whether I like them or don't like them. And that's a personal thing, not a political thing, not a judgmental thing. It's just a feeling. It's a reaction. I met John Ayala, and I said, I like this guy. That's a reaction. That's who I am. And I'm afraid we've gotten away from that in this country to some extent. We are too judgmental. If you are of the opposite party from my views, you must be a bad person. Well, that's ridiculous. That's nonsense.
It comes down to the cultural wars, doesn't it?
To a large degree. So let's bring up one of those.
Okay.
Not in this country. I told John a story during the break of my new doctor. Happens to be Palestinian. I'm a New York Jew, and I met him, and I said, this is very fitting. A Palestinian's got to treat a New York Jew, and he laughed because we get along.
Yeah.
I have said, and I have thought this for a long time, in disagreement with a lot of folks who think of things like I do, there should be a Palestinian state. Now, I have to tell you, I separate the word Palestinian from the word Hamas.
Absolutely.
And the Palestinians, I believe, have a right to a state in the same way that Israel had a right to its land and its state as it was formed in 1948.
And which, by the way, started 50 years before that.
Absolutely. But the separations between the peoples of that area of the world started thousands of years ago.
Yes.
And who are we to think we're going to solve
We're
2,000-year problems? I think Hamas was dead wrong on October 7th, obviously. That's how it all got started recently.
And there's no one that I know that is saying what they did was right.
Now the question is, how far does the reaction go? Israel has a history of having to protect itself. And it does so in ways sometimes that rile the norm, if you will. I do believe that Israel needs to rid itself of Hamas. I fully agree with that. I'm not sure the way they're going about it right now is the best way. Then I understand why they're doing it, and we've seen them in the past. They're a tough group of people to beat. When they set their mind to something, get out of the way, because they're going to do it whether you like it or not, and they'll do it in the name of protecting their country. And they've been a great ally to this country. But that doesn't mean you have to roll over every time your ally does something and say, oh, my ally.
That's exactly right. And in this country, why are we retaliating against people who speak a view contrary to the Israeli policy? That is, should be protected free speech. But when you talk about Israel having a right to defend itself, some will argue in sports the best defense is a great offense. And apparently Israel thinks a great defense is a great offense because they're not defending their territory. They are invading Gaza.
Well,
they are bombing Gaza.
They do that.
They are killing collateral damage and saying, well, we can't help it. Hamas is embedded in the population, so we have to get rid of Hamas. Unfortunately, there's going to be people that die. You know what? That's BS. That's like I said in an earlier show. Oh, no, let me finish, please. Yeah. In an earlier show, I said it's BS. It's like the abusive husband shouting at his wife after he pounds her into the ground, look what you made me do.
Yeah, I understand that. But we also have to look at the history of Israel and how many times it's been attacked and all of that.
And we have to look at the history and how long they've occupied Gaza, how long they've restricted free movement. I mean, there's more to that than just. And I make a distinction between Zionists and Jews.
Oh, I do too.
Okay.
Oh, I do too, and I'm one.
Yeah.
So I'm a Jew, and I make that distinction. But it's a problem on both sides that we're not going to solve.
And it's a problem more exacerbated by one side than it is the other, and the side that has the power. You know, how many children have to be killed to justify what's happening? And then people say, oh, they voted for Hamas. Hamas was voted in 2007, not allowed an election since. 50% of the Palestinian population is under the age of 18. So 50% of the people weren't even alive when Hamas was elected. So this narrative that, well, it's their fault because they voted for Hamas. The Palestinian people are captive by Hamas. Israel uses Hamas as a pretext to go in and commit genocide, and we are complicit in that.
As long as we don't forget what Hamas did to start it all.
We're acting as though history started October 7th.
This history did.
This history did, but you can't just speak about history in a vacuum. You need to understand the full context. That's the problem I have when people act as though history began October 7th. When they go on the airways and they say 1,400, then it was 1,200, and I don't know what the final number is and how many were friendly fire, but let me finish. Okay? And they said this is the worst atrocity since World War II. Well, you don't have to go that far back to find many Palestinian civilians who were killed. Now, I didn't come here prepared to talk about this, but
I know it.
But you introduced it, and
I knew that because I knew I could.
But I don't know if you knew that I would.
It's a serious topic.
Yes, it is very serious,
and it's one of those things we're facing in this country. We've forgotten how to sit down and talk to each other. We've forgotten how to do that. I think that. In opposition to what our president has said about it, I think Europe is on the right track in saying that they'd like to see a Palestinian state. And
some of our major allies have taken that position.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
And that's my view. It may be different from others who think they think like I do, but that's me. We're all individuals. We all look at things differently. And I don't think either side is without blame, and I don't think either side is without suffering. And I think that is a true statement. It's the proportions for each of those sides at this point in time. I'd agree.
Very, very different.
Yeah, I would agree. Got to take a break. Hang on. We're talking to John Ayala, and we will be back with more to see how I can tweak his mind here on the Art Lewis Show. Let me talk about Quick Lane Freeland and McDonald Ford in Freeland, because one thing, friends, is certain. It's an absolute. Michigan winter is not far away. Yeah, I know. Snow and ice, they're on their way, and they bring lots of driving challenges. And how you prepare for them will provide you with a margin of safety. And one of those margins of safety is winter tires, because they are different. And to tell you about it, here's John from Quick Lane.
Hello, Art. Yes, winter tires are made with a pliable rubber compound that includes silica to stay flexible and maintain grip in freezing temperatures. Unlike harder all-season tires, which stiffen and lose traction in the cold, this flexible compound allows the tire to better conform to the road surface, providing superior grip and traction on snow and ice to keep you safe.
Thanks, John. Stop into Quick Lane Freeland today for a tire checkup, and while you're there, why don't you have your cooling system checked, too, to see if it's ready for the cold weather ahead. And remember, too, that McDonald Ford has all the new Ford models waiting for you and a range of quality pre-owned vehicles for any budget. Quick Lane and McDonald Ford, where you can buy your winter tires for just $5 over cost. Stop in today.
I'm attorney Jerry Reif, and I have practiced elder law, estate planning, asset and business protection planning in Michigan for over 3 decades. As a veteran, I've also helped veterans and their spouses benefit from special VA programs. Many of you have attended my monthly workshops where you have learned the rules, what solutions work, and had your questions answered, such as, can I
Back with you here on WSGW. My guest is John Ayala. We're talking about a number of situations, world situations that are important today. Let's talk about the concept of what I have called respectful disagreement. You and I can sit here, John. We can talk about these topics. We can disagree on them. Sometimes just a little, sometimes a lot. But it doesn't affect how we view each other. How have we gotten away from that in this country?
Well, for that to happen, we have to be able to have empathy. We need to be able to put ourselves in the other person's shoes, so to speak. And there are some claim that empathy is the root of our I don't want destruction's too severe, but in the breakdown of civil discourse. And I would argue, without empathy, it's hard to have a discussion with someone you disagree with, because you're not trying to understand their perspective. You're not listening. You're talking over each other. You're talking from your respective bubbles, and not recognizing that those bubbles, if you really break it down, look more like a Venn diagram. They intersect, but we're so focused on the extremes.
It's just a striking concept to me that we can't sit down and pull the best ideas of both sides and put them together. Because when you go back in history and you look at the founding fathers of this country, they couldn't agree on very much.
No.
They were disagreeing more than they were ever agreeing. But they came to the realization that without compromise, they weren't going to have a country.
Consensus
Consensus
means that
true.
I don't have to have 100%, but enough where we can work
The reality
together.
is you're not going to get 100%.
No.
And the chances are, if you got it, you probably wouldn't be happy with it.
It changes. And absolutes are hard to change.
Yeah, quick break. We'll be back. During the break about something, and I posed a question to John. How important are your parents in who you are?
It's essential. Your home life, if you're religious, your religious life, and your public life, they're all factors in how you come out. And so I'll give an example of an experience from a Mexican-American perspective where we were punished for speaking our language. So in my family, my oldest sister, and I won't give her name, but I'll give her age, she's 82.
Oh, my age.
Yeah, she's okay. But she can tell me firsthand experiences of being punished for speaking Spanish. So by the time they got to me, I'm the fourth child, it was English only.
Yeah.
Because it was believed that by speaking Spanish, I was going to be punished. I was going to be singled out. I was going to be discriminated against. So I speak English. I speak English, I think, quite well.
Yeah, oh, no doubt.
But I speak Spanish poorly. So in one generation on one side, I've lost a valuable skill of being bilingual. Some of my last assignments with Delphi were dealing with the international communities, and they all spoke 2, 3, 4 different languages. And I'm here, and I'm embarrassed, so I tell them, well, most Americans speak 2 languages, English and bad English.
Yeah, you're right.
And I stole that from Bruce Willis, just so that I didn't make it up.
So the question would be, though, as in any country, if I moved to France, became a citizen of France, should I expect that country to adopt my language so I don't feel separated?
I think as a practical matter, you learn the language that surrounds you. And so while the U.S. has no official language, let's be clear on that.
Right.
The language spoken
is English.
Is English.
Yeah.
And, of course, people from England, they debate us on that.
Well, they're English and our English.
Yes. So
Same words,
do I
sound
expect that they will learn? Absolutely, I do. And I think that has been borne out that the Southwest, let's talk about the Southwest in particular, because large portions of the Southwest was Mexico. And then after the war.
Literally.
Yeah. A comedian once said, I'm a 6th-generation Texan, and if your family's been here longer, technically you were Mexican.
And to be honest, I'm ready to give them back California.
See, and we want to keep California, and we don't know what to do with Texas. I mean, that's the only state in the Union twice has seceded from the nation they were a part of over the issue of slavery. Twice.
Yep.
Okay? So clearly, I think brown is just one shade different than what they like to discriminate against. But the point is that, look at me, one generation on one side, I speak English. So to say that we never learned the language of the area, you just have to give us time. I mean, if you went to France, parlez-vous français? No, je ne parle français, je parle anglais. Okay? So that's just a simple phrase. Like one of the famous ones in Spanish, ¿Dónde está el baño? Yeah, everybody wants to know where the bathroom is. But you got to give them time to learn the language. So this narrative that we're refusing to learn the language is just wrong.
I just look at it historically, and when I grew up in high school, I studied Spanish. It was not the Spanish of Latin America; it was Castilian Spanish of Spain, Cadiz, Castellanos. You learn a different way of saying the same thing.
I know.
I've forgotten most of it. But,
I have a colleague from Spain. I was there for 2 weeks. He said, John, I can't believe how much more Spanish you're speaking in 2 weeks. He said, but I have to point out, you speak Spanish like a Mexican. And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
And I said, and not to put too fine a point on it, there's more people who speak it like me than speak it like you.
Yeah. Isn't that true? Isn't that true? It's, it's, on the one hand, I'm worried about the country. I'm worried about the world we live in. On the other hand, I can't think of any place I'd rather be right now. I just, we have issues, we have problems, but this country is resilient. We've been through hard times over the history of this country. We'll continue to be through hard times. But it's the good people of this country that get us through those hard times.
And that's the nature of humanity.
And it is the nature of humanity. Well, John, I am, first of all, thrilled that you're time out of your day to come do this, and we are going to do it again.
I hope so.
There's good topics to talk about. You and I are going to sit down and have discussions. I really enjoyed it.
Art, maybe just take a moment to pivot back to the Supreme Court ruling
Please.
on racial profiling. Our historical record gives us reason to be concerned, because it starts off with one group, but it can easily become a slippery slope. But let's talk specifically about the Mexican-American group, or people of Mexican descent. In the 1930s, you had the Repatriation Act. And that was not a formal law, but a series of actions supported by government, by private institutes, and by churches to American jobs for real Americans. So they deported Mexicans, including Mexican citizens. Again, it happened in 1954, Operation Wetback.
I remember, and we'll talk about them again.
Okay.
I'm out of time.
Okay.
Literally. News is next, and then we'll be back with the next hour.
At Little Pastry Shop in
Casting from the